So welcome back. Halloween time, spooky time, is it?
Spooky season! Halloween Ends is the closing, wow. Halloween Ends is that third movie and also the closing chapter in this Halloween franchise, or this trilogy, this new trilogy of movies that is actually a retcon of the original sequels, and now it's kind of like taking on this canon instead. It's all crazy convoluted at this point, but the point is there's so many Halloween movies now, and this is a new one that's out. Is it good? Is it awesome? Is it fun? Is it a good horror movie? Well, according to the internet, this is one of the most divisive movies ever made already in the past 3 days, so let's talk about it.
Well, I gotta say, I liked it. I mean, in the first act, if you do not like the first act and how we are introduced to a character and how you kind of see the movie is gonna be, then you're probably not gonna like this movie. I'll just get that out of the way.
Yeah, it is definitely an all eggs in one basket scenario. I think you have to know that going in. If you're a fan of the original Halloween movie and if you love 2018, I don't know, you could be mixed on kills. This one in particular, though, Halloween Ends, is so different. If you're not on board with it from the jump, if you're not okay with this new character that we get introduced to named Corey, then you're not going to be for the rest of the movie. And I feel like you have to know that going in, being a Halloween fan or just being a fan of like horror movies in general, or if you're going into this movie expecting a Michael Myers slaughterfest, it's definitely a different approach. I do think the marketing, I don't know, I actually kind of kept my ear out of the marketing for this one, but
I did too.
I feel like you do have to know that going in before you watch it. That it is definitely different and more of a reserved take than Kills and 2018.
I kind of went into this movie not really knowing anything. I kind of stayed away from trailers. I thought it was just going to have Michael, our legacy character, one big final clash, I guess. They took a whole different turn. I did not expect a lot of the things they threw at us. I was actually surprised, and it worked for me.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a surprise, especially being a closing chapter in a trilogy.
Yeah.
You feel like it's odd to make a movie where you already have your established characters, and then suddenly you throw this new character into the mix. So it can kind of come across as, hey, why are you shoehorning this guy in? Can you not interfere with the characters that we've grown attached to in the last two movies, or at least 2018? I don't know, because Kills kind of just put Laurie H. Strode in a bed. But at least, I don't know, the fact, I do appreciate that they do more with Laurie Strode here, and you do get more exploration with her character. Essentially, the movie starts off with Laurie Strode in just a different place than you would expect from where the last one left off. You would expect something more of a basic revenge tale. However, I think this movie, it was interesting in how it dealt with the themes of grief, and I like how Laurie was kind of the embodiment of that. I like that this movie kept her more significantly involved than Halloween Kills did.
She felt serious. She just felt so like she knew what she wanted, and she was just taking charge of everything. That's what it felt like, and she really embodied that throughout the whole movie. Never kind of really lost her way when it came to that. She was always just charging in, it kind of felt like. But it was also weird because the way the atmosphere is, the way the town is, it just feels like the whole town is just in some kind of downward spiral despair almost, and every character just feels weird.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. Like, characters make weird choices in this movie, and sometimes I think it really works in a sense that you're exploring different sides of the character. You're kind of seeing like different sides of Allison, different sides of Laurie. I actually enjoyed kind of seeing where they go in this movie, and Corey. Their little like trifecta of those three characters, it kind of kept the focus of the Strode family in focus, ironically, even though Corey's not a part of that family. I like that involvement kept us more involved with Allison and Laurie. They became more prominent characters because of that. You did mention the town and how weird it felt and like how off it is everyone around in Haddonfield. And I do think that does a great job at making this movie harken back to the original Halloween with a sense of like eeriness and dread just kind of amped up to 11 because the actions that Michael have taken have gotten worse. It's really cool that Haddonfield embodies that evil around, and now you get this sense of eeriness and dread that something's coming, that Michael's always going to come back. You don't really ever feel like there's a sense of calm or, an easy night's sleep in Haddonfield during Halloween Ends. And I like that because that allowed tension to build throughout the movie. That way, when the plot is being slow and we're not getting kills left and right and we're kind of essentially just trying to build character, sometimes smoothly, sometimes not. I do like that tension was able to stay involved throughout the movie. I really felt the atmosphere of this one.
Yeah.
The spookiness was everywhere.
They tackle so many themes when it comes to grief, to a bad society, how certain good people, because they're in such a vulnerable spot, depending on who nurtures that vulnerability in the person, they can become something entirely else. And I think they executed it very properly.
Well, Michael's presence is felt throughout the entire film, and that's what makes it really work. So that way, when he's not showing up, you can still understand that his influence never really goes away. This movie did a solid job at deepening that mythology in a sense where it doesn't really go over the top, to me at least. It didn't make it to where Michael's just a supernatural piece of a cult or something like that. It was more in a sense of like his influence and what he has done has spread this fear throughout the town. And I like how this movie was really about that fear culminating into like this explosion of tension by the third act.
I gotta say that this movie, I feel like in a certain way it is a bit slow. Even from the start of the movie, the attention drawing, what happens in the beginning, after that, that's where you get a build off, where it's just kind of slowly building into something because you're being introduced into this new character that's being thrown in the mix and how everything has been, because things have been quiet since what happened in the last film. So you're kind of curious of what's all going on, and I feel like a lot of people may have a problem with that because we don't get to see a lot of the stuff happen that we want to see until later into the movie, and some people may have a problem with that. I honestly don't have a problem with that because I thought it was just executed properly, where the character that we were introduced to, I actually kind of started to care for,
Corey's fascinating.
Corey's a fascinating character. The way they wrote him, the writing in this is very clever. I love it, and the little attention to details that happen in the background as well in certain scenes. It's very clever the way they did it, and I'm just surprised.
Yeah, surprised, dude. This movie's so hard to be big about because there's so many things that happen that are just different. It's different than the last two movies. Halloween Kills was so deliberate. Halloween Kills was a straightforward slasher.
Yeah, it was just a slasher.
Slash. And Halloween 2018 was essentially a love letter to the original Halloween and just giving us kind of like that Force Awakens type feeling, but I think a little better. Where you're harkening back to the original, but still doing something new and unique with the characters, and still kind of building among legacy characters without disrespecting them. And I like that. And I think Ends definitely takes these legacy characters, and it doesn't necessarily make them bad or anything like that, but it explores different sides of them that I didn't expect to see.
And it's a gamble, and some people may have not liked it. Some people may. I guess it's just a part of rolling the dice.
Definitely takes a gamble, and I will say some of them don't always hit for me. There's a few things that even we talked about before, like driving home, and I gotta explain the difference here to tell you what worked and what didn't for me, at least, where there's a bond between Allison and Corey that really kind of forms, and I didn't really fully buy it. I thought that was rather rushed in with the way it's shown. However, on the flip of that, it didn't ruin the movie for me because I was more intrigued with what was going on with the character of Corey and how what was going on was pushing him towards a certain path. And I actually, that's what got me really invested, was that subjective POV of Corey's character. And the fact that I was able to kind of want to follow him along kept me really engaged. So I ended up caring more about Allison, even more so Laurie by the end, as to where I thought this movie could have easily kind of dropped the ball and all that, because that has a lot to juggle. And clearly online, it is dropping the ball for a lot of people. Yeah. And I can kind of get why, because it does feel like it kind of takes the rug out from under you. And I feel like as a fan, you can kind of feel that sudden urge to be like, oh God, that is not what I expected. So it's like, that knee-jerk reaction to be like, oh, it's not what I wanted. So I can kind of see where that reaction is coming from. I was just really impressed with how engaged I was at any point where a lot of the stuff could have taken me out, but it didn't. It was actually keeping me really hooked into this dark story about how this influence of Michael Myers is still affecting this family.
And how it just influences everyone. His embodiment of just hatred, all things negativity, and how the whole town is feeding off of that on each other. There's so many things that are just happening in this town, that are not good, and some people are very vulnerable where they just easily feed off each other, and they're feeding off that negativity, and that's the connection. It's simple as that. I can totally see why certain people just don't buy it. I guess it worked for me. The story they were telling me between these characters, I can totally see why people have issues with it. Yeah,
especially on that first viewing, I literally sitting in the theater, a few people 2 seats down from me were like, "The heck is Michael Myers?" I could hear them mumbling that complaint. I was like, but I was picking up what the movie was throwing down though on the way to that point. Our friend that we ran into at the theater, he had a mixed opinion on certain things with new characters being involved, and I could see that. With that being said, what can I say? If something works for me and keeps me hooked and engages me, it does. And I can't deny it. Like, I had a very engaging experience with this movie. I don't know. Like, it's one of those movies I didn't expect to like as much as I did.
Yeah.
Because flaws and all, like, rushed certain character beats. Certain moments I didn't really fully buy. I think the first act is rather choppy in its build up, but once that second act and third act really start pumping up and really like the characters start progressing faster, I think the movie gets better as it progresses, in my opinion. No spoilers, the final shots of this movie I think are perfect for how this trilogy could have closed up.
Yes.
I felt so satisfied. Like, no spoilers, just I love the final shot of this movie. It made me so happy as a fan of this new trilogy, at least. Personally.
I love the atmosphere.
I'm gonna say Halloween End, go see it. I'm actually definitely really curious to see what people are thinking about this one. I don't even know if we're gonna be in the minority on it. Yeah, we really dug it.
Yeah.
Here's to you, Michael. I don't have any drinks, but yeah.
Hey, have you seen New Halloween?
Yeah.
If you have, let us know.
Yeah, feel
If you
free to,
haven't, you should go see it maybe.
bring those pitchforks in the comments for us liking this movie if you want.